Paltiel Nesneach. So we are on page Mem Dalet, beginning the next line. Paltiel Nesneach, Neach is Tzadik Tom. In translation, these are the generations of Neach. Neach was a Tzadik, a man a Tzadik Tomim, a complete Tzadik. Tzorich Lohavin, we need to understand Mahu Inyan Neach Beis B'Yomim. What is represented by repeating the Neach, the name of Neach twice. B'Zohar Isa. In the Zohar it says ayleh. The following are ayleh. Here it is. B'chol asar posal azorishen. Everywhere where it says ayleh without the connecting vav means that we're beginning a new system. Posal azorishen, which means it cuts off from the previous ones. It's a new, different, not a continuation from before. It's a new process. And what is the implication there? Do ovi tuldin v'lo ochra. This one, ovi tuldin, produces offspring, but not the other one. The other one cuts off, posal. This one is a different cheshbon, a different reality. Ovi tuldin, it has the possibility of creating offspring. Pirush Ramaz, and the Ramaz explains, Masha Kosav, or Masha Omar, B'chol Asad. This, as the Zohar says, everywhere. What is it? What is it? Other where? Koya Masha Kosav, Eila Til Shemayim V'Horetz. That refers to the earlier ayleh. It says Eila Til Shemayim V'Horetz. These are the births of Shemayim V'Oretz. These are B'Zohar al Zeh, where the Zohar says regarding this Eilo Tilas HaShamayim, the posil tuldin detehu. That over there also it says Eilo Tilas HaShamayim, also ayleh, not V'Eileh. What is it distinguishing from? The tuldin detehu, the tuldis of Toihu. Because in Toihu there wasn't this bechina, this element in Yisod, and therefore they didn't have the ability to produce tuldis. Shezehu melech haches hadar. This is the eighth king. There's the Malachim that are actually recounted in Pashas Vayishlach. The 8 Malachim in Beis, and the 8th one is Hadar. And Hadar, this is the end of the whole process. The end, because there is no tuldin. Nachkach siv, but then afterwards it says v'nohar Etzem Eden. A river comes forth from Eden. Shezeh bechinas Yisaydes the Avo. This Nohar is representing the Yisaid of Avo. Eden is Avo, Aim, Chochmah, Binah, and from there comes forth a Nohar. Ukmei Kain, so just as over there is a posal, Ukmei Kain, Kan. So similarly here, the Zohar says B'chol Asad, everywhere. So the Ramazik says, where is the everywhere? Where is the other where? The other where is when he talks about the Eilo Tilas HaShamayim. So similarly over here by Noach, Posas Horishenim, Zorishenus. By Noach also begins a new process, and it distinguishes it and cuts off from the earlier. The Koyi al Hoasor Doire Shemeodem ad Noach. referring to the 10 generations from Adam till Noach. So now we want to understand. It seems to be that there should be a difference. Ain't a mover. We don't understand how they show over there by Shomayim v'Oretz, Eiltin HaShomayim, Posal, Tuldin the Toyim. What it cuts off is from Tuldin the Toyim, the offspring of Toyim. Because Toyim cannot produce offspring. Ukmei she'emer hatam, as it says, explains the reason, Shelehoya behem hamshochas melech haches hadar b'chinas yisoid. Because he didn't have the yisoid. He saw the attic. Shuhu iker hatikun kenoida. You saw the attic, this is the principle of tikkun. Then it was a completely toyu. Avol ha'asoro. But the 10, and this star, correctly they're pointing out that there is a word missing here. Avol ha'asoro deiles, but the 10 deiles between Adam and Noach. Hareho yom mibchinas hatikun, that was already from the tikkun aspect, shekvar hoyo hamshochas hayisoides, which means this was already after there was no Etzem Yedem, there was a hamshochas hayisoides. B'pnei ma posal aseilu. Why are we cutting off from the previous one?
Didn't we say earlier that the cutting off was the Toldei Shemayim v'Oretz and not the Tzar Doros from Adam to Noach?
No. By Noach also it says ayleh Toldis. And the Zohar says everywhere where it says ayleh, posas a rishon. Where is everywhere? So then, at last point, there's the other place where it says ayleh Toldis Shemayim, and then the other place is by Noach, ayleh Toldis Noach, posas a rishon. So to understand the principle that Sora Delis min Neach Adam ad Neach is also a cutoff. And also there is a lack of Toldis. We have to revisit what we have discussed previously. Sheyesh Beis Mine Hashpois. Now there are two types of hashpois. Hashpoah ruchnis, hashpoah gashmis. A hashpoah that consists of a ruchnisdike transmission. And hashpoah gashmis, a hashpoah that goes through a gashmisdike method. The hashpoah ruchnis, he hashpoah zaseichel. And we explained briefly that hashpoah ruchnis, the spiritual hashpoah, is the hashpoah of seichel. He hashpoah chitzenis, bechinas ha'or levat. And hashpoah zaseichel, whenever there is a hashpoah ruchnis, which is hashpoah haseichel, is a hashpoah chitzenis. The hashpoah there is a chitzenis dike hashpoah. Bechinas ha'or levat, which means the hashpoah contains only ha'or. It may be referring to a pnimiut. It may be elaborating and revealing a pnimiut, but it's not mashpia the pnimiut. The essential in mashpia only ha'or. And therefore, because it's only ha'or, we discussed the principle of ha'or many times. Al kein lenizhava mizeh mehus u'mitzius dover. Thus, from this hashpoah cannot come about a mitzius, any an original and a true standing presence. A ha'ara is essentially an allusion to the reality. It is not the real thing itself. V'yesh gvul lahashpah, and thus there is a limit to the hashpah, which means you keep him mashpia, and eventually it dissipates. It does not continue and it does not develop further. The hashpah gashmis, the word gashmis is missing here, but the physical hashpah, hikmei hashpah zatitva. This is like in the case of hashpah zatitva leheilid bedoima, to give birth bedoima, of replication of the source. Shehi hashpah pnimis, which is a pnimis dike hashpah, which means an essential, an internal hashpah, shenim shebozeh guf etzem hakoychos, where it is giving. Guf etzem hakoychos is the very essence of the koychos, not an allusion to the koychos, not here's what I'm able to do, but the ability itself. So all of these terms we already discussed, l'hoyle b'doima and so forth. So this is just reintroduction of that which already was discussed. The shevesh hashpahu, and thus we explained that the soiresh, the root of this hashpah, where there is a transmission of the guf etzem hakoyches, hu mehakoyches hahiyulim ho'atzmiyim. It is rooted, and rooted means it is initiated. It is inspired by the koyches hiyulim ho'atzmi. Again, we already discussed koyches hiyulim ho'atzmi. Essentially, koyches hiyulim, just want to remind us, hiyulim means the reason there is this koyach is because there is a nefesh, not because there is a koyach. There is no development at all. No development stage at that level. And if there is a koyach, it is because this is representative of the nefesh itself. Well, kei nase mehusu mizeh, mehusu mitziyas dover mamos, and thus from this comes to be a mehusu mitziyas dover mamos, a real presence, because there is the atzmius element transmitted there. And it does not dissipate, and it does not interrupt ever, because there is a real presence. To put us into the spirit of these words so we can continue. In everything there is the essence and there is the experience of the essence. The experience is the ha'ara. And the essence is what makes it be. In koyches hiyulim atzmim, there is no experience. There is only the nefesh itself. Why is there the koyach? Because there is a nefesh. In anything beyond that, like in koyach hamaskil, there is already an element of a koyach. a stage of development. At this level, there is only its source, and the source is the reality itself. And this source itself, this is what's being given in the hashpah. In the hashpah, in other words, in hashpah has seichel, you must be a seichel because already. In the hashpah has seichel, you must be a seichel because you understand it. So you must be what you understand. The hashpah atzmis, you must be this because you are it, not because you understand.
So the seichel is like the experience of the Etzem?
What?
You introduced this by saying there's the Etzem and then there's the Hara with the experience of the Etzem. Right?
Hara is like the experience. It's an allusion to it.
That's the
That's the
seichel.
You understand it. You have it because of your experience. Why are you giving the seichel? How are you able to give the seichel? Because you experienced, you understood. That's how you give the seichel. So it's not, you're not giving the etzem, but made you understand. Why did you go there to try to understand in the first place? That's not what you did. Binah hadugma mikol zeh yuvon b'hafresh b'neshamis malach. The similar Inyan will be exposed and be understood, and will give us to understand the Inyan, the difference between neshamis and malach. The shayresh hamalachim hu mebchina zivu gruchni de'ava. Malachim are rooted in the zivu gruchni of ava, of Chochmah and Binah. Shezehu b'chinas hashpah chitzenis levad, where the hashpah between Chochmah and Binah is only hashpah chitzenis. The hainu, which means she'eino nimshach bozeh b'chinas ho'atzmus v'hapnimius. It means hashpah chitzenis means that in this hashpah is not nimshach. It does not draw the atzmus and pnimius itself. Ki'im ha'ora lavad, only the ha'ora. Okay, so again, to get into this element, I want to just discuss briefly Chochmah and Binah. Normally we say Chochmah is the way the Ayin is conceptualized to start with. And we always explain how is it conceptualized, where does it come from, and how am I able to relate to a completely novel concept. It's because there is the koyach hanefesh, the sighting of the reality itself. Chochmah is in a sense is a replication of the oneg, which is mamash a nefesh experience. This is why you have that you can initially recognize a Inyan from nothing. But Binah already relates to the content and the composition. So Binah relates to Mitzias. So it would seem superficially that Binah is totally in a different realm than Chochmah. It doesn't have an element of Chochmah at all, because it relates to the Mitzias, to the identifiable entities. So for this, it is always important to remember. We speak about this all the time. I just want to go straight to the point. We are able to identify the composites because we have the whole, not the other way around. Binah is completely illuminated by Chochmah. The reason that Binah can relate to the details is because it senses the Oil HaChochmah. This is why we say Ava, Aim, Chochmah, Binah, they are inseparable. Binah actually senses the entire impact of the Chochmah. And from there it draws all the union that it can identify. Thus, Chochmah really has an influence, a profound influence on Binah. Not only an influence, it enables the Binah. To take an example, an illustration of this union. The reason I'm going there because it's important. Chlal, it's an important concept, especially this is what we're going to be learning. To take a very mundane, down-to-earth example. How do you get from point A to point B? In order to be able to discuss that whole concept, the whole question, how do you go from point A to point B? You have to first realize that point A and point B are both contained in one area. They're on the same earth at the minimum. If you do not have that unity, that element, point A and point B do not have any relationship to each other. You can't get from point A to point B. This is Binah. You say, this results in this. Why? Because they're all in one context. In only one reality.
The one reality, though, is the Chochmah, right?
One reality is the vision of Chochmah. But Binah senses it. It's given that insight and that influence of Chochmah. That's the Hashpah of Chochmah in Binah.
And then figures out how to get from one to the other.
What?
And then figures out how to get.
And then Binah, in that, Binah attends to these practical questions, very important. But it has the Chochmah that gives it, that provides that possibility. That enables that question. How do you get from point A to point B? So Chochmah has an enormous influence on Binah. Yet, it is only Hashpah Chitzenis. Which means that the Etzem Chochmah is not Nimshach, only the Ha'or. Only the fact that I see both of these places are actually in the same area. But how did I get to see it that way? That's Chochmah, that remains a Chochmah. That's not given to Binah.
So that's the Yichud of Chochmah and Binah we're talking about right now?
Yichud of Chochmah and Binah is that Chochmah gives a Ha'or Chitzenis to Binah. That's what it is, that's a Ha'or Chitzenis. I know that this is how it is, but I don't see the way Chochmah sees. As a matter of fact, after all that influence, when a person gets lost, he really feels panicky. Oh, I got lost. As if he really stepped off the earth. Because he does not have this sense of the reality that Chochmah has. Okay, we just get into this. Our time is basically up, just really want to get into the next. Binah Yodua. For it is known, the whole his havus who mibchinas Chochmah Binah. That the entire his havus, the entire creation, is from that bechina of Chochmah and Binah. Ukmei Kosu, as the pasuk says, Kulom b'Chochmah sisu. Say this in davening every day. Kula b'chochmah sis. Mor abba ma'asecha havayu. Kula b'chochmah sis. You made them all b'chochmah. V'yisa b'zeyach el gimel daf mem gimel. Amad aleph. Regarding this statement, Isaiah says, Kulam b'chochmah or sisu b'bina. That kulam, they're all originally contained, start from chochmah. But then osiso, but then you made them be in bina. Whether they come forth as a metzius, a seer, in Binah. This is it for this morning.
Take care.
You're welcome.